All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore something we all do thousands of times a day, but probably never think about. That tiny, almost invisible gap between breathing in and breathing out. Turns out that little pause is a huge deal for our brains and our minds. So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle this big idea of the present moment. Then, we'll look at that gap in the breath from a few different angles, neurologically, meditatively, and psychologically. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you have a super clear picture of what's going on. So let's start with a really big question. One our world doesn't really encourage us to ask. We're always focused on what we've done or what we're going to do next. But where is the now? Where does it actually live? It's pretty wild when you think about it. You can sell products based on nostalgia, which is memory. You can sell products based on aspiration, which is the future. But the present moment, it can't really be bought or sold. So our world just doesn't have much of a reason to point our attention there. And this is where it gets so interesting. The actual present, this state of pure being, can be found in that tiny little gap in our own breath. It's the 1 millisecond where you're not inhaling the past or exhaling toward the future. You're just there. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty science of it. How does your brain and your body actually create this little pause? What's happening under the hood neurologically? Well, it's actually way simpler than you might think. Breathing in is an active job. Your brainstem sends signals telling your diaphragm to contract. But that gap, it isn't something you do. It's the moment the brain stops sending that signal, just for a split second, right before your lungs naturally spring back to exhale. It's basically a neural switch off. And check this out. It's like a perfect balancing act. Your inhale is tied to your sympathetic nervous system. That's your body's gas pedal, the fight or flight mode. Your exhale is linked to the parasympathetic system, the brake pedal, your rest and digest mode. That little gap is the dead center, the neutral point between revving up and calming down. So the key takeaway from a neurological standpoint is this: that feeling of inner quiet you can sometimes notice isn't just you imagining things. It's real. It's the direct sensation of your brain literally stopping its commands for a fraction of a second. Okay, so we've seen the biology. Now let's look at that exact same moment from a totally different perspective. For thousands of years, meditative traditions have viewed this gap not just as a mechanical switch, but as a kind of portal. The logic here is really beautiful. Think about it. Breathing in and breathing out are actions, they're movements, they represent doing something. But the gap is a moment of absolute zero movement. It's the only point in the whole cycle where you are simply being in the pure now. You see, this pause is so short, so empty, that your thinking mind can't get a grip on it. It can't analyze it, or label it, or turn it into a story. And that's why you see these profound descriptions like this one. It's a moment where that constant chattering sense of me can actually just dissolve. And this isn't some new idea, not at all. This has been a central practice for ages. In yogic traditions, it even has a name, kumbhaka. It's the formal practice of focusing on this gap to pull your awareness right into the present moment. And this is where it gets really wild. People who focus on this gap report these incredible experiences: a deep sense of stillness, sudden clarity, thoughts just melting away, even a feeling of being outside of time. It really suggests that the magic isn't just the biology itself, but what happens when our attention finally gets a moment of total, uninterrupted peace. All right, let's shift gears for our final perspective. Let's look at this through the lens of modern psychology. Why on earth would this tiny little pause have such powerful benefits for calming and regulating our minds? Well, the function is actually pretty straightforward, but so powerful. Our thoughts tend to have this runaway momentum, right? One thought triggers another, and pretty soon they're just rolling downhill. Paying attention to the gap is like hitting the brakes. It interrupts that chain reaction. And breaking that momentum has real, tangible benefits. Just introducing that micro pause into your mental flow can help dial down anxiety, stop obsessive thought loops, and reduce that knee-jerk emotional reactivity. It's no wonder this is a foundational technique in so many mindfulness therapies today. Ultimately, what it does is it gives your mind a safe place to land. When everything feels chaotic and your thoughts are swirling, that gap becomes the steady, reliable anchor. It's always there, and you can always come back to it to ground yourself and slow things down. Okay, time to bring it all home. Let's synthesize all three of these perspectives into one clear, final takeaway. Perfect for an exam review, right? This table really lays it all out. We have one single event, that pause in the breath. Through a purely biological lens, it's just a mechanical hiccup. Neurologically, it's the brain flicking a switch off. But the moment we add our conscious attention to it, the whole thing transforms. It becomes a meditative doorway to the present and a powerful psychological tool to reset our minds. It's the same event, just viewed through different and equally valid lenses. And so we'll end with this one final thought to chew on. We've just seen how this simple biological reality inside every single one of us can be an incredible tool for calm and clarity. So the question is, if the present moment is so powerful and so accessible, why is our entire world seemingly designed to pull our attention everywhere but there? Something to think about.